Everyone, today we're going to try to recreate the Google Gemini loading animation. So let's take a look at it. Basically, we're trying to recreate that gradient moving animation effect. And for today's demo, here is going to be the end result. It's not like a perfect match, but I think it's close enough for this demo alone. So to our example, we have a static HTML right now with 3 loading bars. And to go over the loading bars, it's really simple. It's a fixed height, some border radius to make it round, and then the different gradients for different bars. So for example, this bar has a width of 80%, which up to you, you can set it to 90%, you can set it to like 20%, and it's just personal preference, but for this demo I'll set at 80%. And I just gave them a little different gradients so that we can have different effects and different width. To go over how it actually moves, let's start with just the keyframe moving. Moving is the most important animation because we want the gradients to be moving to the right, like it's an infinite loading effect. Right now, it's not working because we're not setting our background size to 200%. But if we set this at 200%, and once again, loading bar is apparent in every single loading class, we notice that it's going backwards because what I'm doing is I'm basically setting the background position from 0 to 200% for a duration of 1 second and then repeat that infinitely. We want it to go to the right. To do that, we have to go from 0 to negative 200% to make it look like it's going forward. It's doing that because here's an example. Starting here. Let's say this is your background, right? It's 200% the width of the container. When we say background position is 0, we're saying that the background will start at the start. Well, the background position will start right here at the start of the container. Now, if we say we want this background position to be 50%, what we're saying we're going to move this center right here to the start. And that's what 50% of the background position looks like. Now, you can imagine what 100% look like. 100%, or sorry, in this case, this will actually be 100% since it's 200%. To make it to how it will look like at 200% is basically moving this all the way to the right. And just by that motion alone, you can see how it's going to the left, right? It's going to the left. If we wanted to go to the right, we basically start backwards. We reverse it. We go from 0 to negative 200% to make it go to the right. Because this right here is negative 200%. And this middle part would then be negative 100%. So as we move, we're going from 0 to negative 100%, which will now be the center, and then eventually 200%. And this animation is really simple. It's just keyframes. We're saying this is the name of the animation we're using. We're trying to do this. We have a duration of 1 second. We have a delay of 1 second. I'll explain why later. And we want this to repeat linearly. I have it set to go forward because we don't want it to be going, backwards. So forward. And then currently it's just linear. Of course, you can set it differently. You can do like an ease in to kind of create like a little effect and the speeding effect. So it's up to you. For this purpose, I'll keep it as linear. Now, the next thing to recreate from the Gemini thing is that it appears from 0 to 1. Like the loading bar doesn't just stay there. It expands. So, for example, expands from 0 to 1. We want to create that. And to recreate that, the first thing we have to do is we have to set opacity to 0 to start. So that when you load the page, it's not there. The bar is not there. The next thing is, let me just focus on now the next keyframe, which is expanding. We want it to expand from 0 to 1. How do we do that? By setting the opacity to 0 and then scaling it up from 0 to 1. The reason why I didn't do I didn't use width 0, like for example width equals to 0 to, let's say, 100%, is that by doing this we disturb the width we set. We basically lose all of the uniqueness of each loading bar. By scaling it up, we keep, like, it goes from 0, which is basically not apparent, to 1, scaling up to the width or like the size we set on the element itself. So it's not disturbing the actual width of the loading bars. So that's the expanding effect, to try to make it look like it's popping out. It's like popping effect. Right now I have it as linear, but I think if you add in ease in, it might look cooler or nicer. It's up to you. With those two animations in place, we now want to combine them, because with the combination of those two, we can create an expanding effect and a moving effect. So to do that, here's what I did. I basically said expanding is going to be about 4 seconds, and we're going to give it a slight delay of 7.7 seconds. We're going to move it forward with linear speed. While that is happening, we are going to run this other animation, the moving animation, infinitely, but we don't want this to start while the expanding is still going on. So I set a delay of 1 second to wait, basically saying to wait for the expanding to finish and continue. So here's how it looks like. It's like it's waiting to expand, it's still expanding, and then it appears. With this combined, it'll be like around 1.1 second, and it will start at 1 second. Of course, you don't really need it to, because I think it's up to you. It looks good like that. But yeah, that's about it. It's really simple. I'll link this to a GitHub repo in the description. So yeah, hopefully this helps.